So welcome from Washington. And Senator Van Hollen, I understand you have some breaking news in regard to this order that Trump was trying to send.
Well, Christiana, it's great to be with you. Just before I arrived here to go on your show, we learned that the Executive Office of the President had issued a one-line statement saying that the executive order that froze trillions of dollars of funds with the threat of clawing them back had been canceled. So they have canceled that executive order. As you indicated, a federal judge was going to review the legality of that order on Monday. I believe it was a sweeping power grab and unconstitutional, but they have probably now mooted that question by rescinding the order altogether.
May I ask you, Senator, just to read what you received?
Yeah.
Can I ask you to read it?
Sure, I'm happy to. It's again, it's from the Executive Office of the President, the acting head of the Office of Management and Budget. It's going to be important for people to follow that agency going forward. And it just says, OMB memorandum M-25-13 is rescinded, period. If you have questions about implementing the president's executive orders, please contact your agency general counsel. That's it, 2 sentences, but the first sentence is very clear. They've canceled the executive order. This does not mean they've canceled their intention to try to find other ways to engage in these illegal clawbacks. But obviously, this is temporary good news. We have to remain vigilant.
So just tell me why you think this is going on. So this is, rescinding a major, what you all called illegal power grab that was not only unconstitutional, but potentially anti-constitutional, that froze. And I heard you say even firefighters in your own state didn't know where their funding was going to come from. But what do you think's going on in this White House, then? Are they just having it on, trying to throw spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks and pulling back at the first sign of opposition? Explain to me what you think is going on. Because also over birthright citizenship, a judge has temporarily paused that too.
Yeah, what I think is going on is they're trying through these executive orders to try to grab as much power as they can and try to implement as much of the Trump agenda as they can through executive orders. But when it comes to the latest action they attempted, for example, trying to put a hold on all of these federal initiatives, that clearly violated what's called the Impoundment Control Act, right? Presidents cannot say, I'm going to, implement this part of the law, but I'm going to ignore another part of the law. That is a total undermining of the balance of powers in Article 1. So, but what you're seeing is, and flood the zone is a good word for it, just an effort in these first 8 or 9 days of the Trump administration to grab power and to try to implement the president's agenda through any means possible, regardless of whether it's legal or not legal. And the good news here is we were going to have this court hearing on Monday, but clearly the Trump administration decided it was not wise to proceed.
Before I ask you what you think may happen next, you talked about this Impoundment Control Act, which for those of us overseas may be a little complex, and you can explain it. But I want to play a little piece of your interaction with the incoming OMB director, Russell Vought, when you were, talking to him during his, his time before your committee. This is what you and he exchanged.
Will you comply with the Impoundment Control Act?
Senator, the President ran against the Impoundment Control Act.
This is, Mr. Vought, I know what the president did. He wants to change lots of things. He can submit legislation to do that. But you are going to be the head of OMB, and here today at this hearing, you're refusing to commit to comply with the Impoundment Control Act. Is that right? Are you refusing to commit to complying?
Senator, the administration has to go through a policy process to understand the legal parameters for operating in the ICA.
Okay, I'm going to reclaim my time.
So, I mean, I guess you sort of assessed that he was not going to answer a question about the law.
Well, that's absolutely right. I mean, you saw it right there. He refused to commit to following the law. Now, this is a nominee to be the head of OMB. We will have a vote on his nomination tomorrow in the Budget Committee. I will vote no, and I hope we can ultimately defeat his nomination, but Republicans are behind it. But Christiane, this is the person who was the head of OMB years ago in the first Trump administration, who worked to withhold the funds for Ukraine, right? This was the military assistance to Ukraine. And so at that time, I asked GAO, which is a watchdog for Congress, whether or not they violated the Impoundment Control Act when they withheld those funds for Ukraine. And the answer came back loud and clear. Yes, that's what they violated. They violated the Impoundment Control Act. So we've seen this movie before. Now they want to do it on a massive scale. That's what they tried to do through this executive order. Fortunately, that was just rescinded, but this is exactly the direction they want to go in.